Let's do it.
Hi, everyone.
All right, it is July 10th, and today's entry is Love the Humble Art.
Love the humble art. Humble art. Okay, cool.
Yeah, I'm interested to know what humble means.
Or what do they mean by humble? Yeah.
Yeah, okay. Marcus Aurelius says, Love the humble art you have learned, and take rest in it. Pass through the remainder of your days as one who wholeheartedly entrusts all possessions to the gods, making yourself neither a tyrant nor a slave to any person.
Yeah, I get it.
Love the humble art you have learned. So humble art maybe meaning just like an area of expertise.
Like all the that's how I'm looking at it too. Like all the experiences that you been through had some sort of a mark left on you or something, and those are all the learned things, right? And so yeah. And maybe humble is by saying, not going around saying, look what all the stuff that I know or something, right? Like being humble about the things that we know, because we ultimately don't know anything. So
Pass through the remainder of your days as one who wholeheartedly entrusts all possessions to the gods. So by possessions, I'm reading more than just like physical objects. I'm also kind of like imagining like outcomes. Like entrust all outcomes to the gods. That's how I'm sort of imagining.
All outcomes to the gods.
He says possessions, which I entrust all possessions to the gods. Which just is like I entrust like the things around me, my environment that I'm in. I entrust, and then I would put outcomes in there too. All of that to the gods, making yourself neither a tyrant nor a slave to any person.
Because if you do, then you will end up on one of those spectrum,
Yeah.
On the ends of those spectrums.
I'm not trying to control other people. And I'm also not trying to completely give up my own agency and become a slave. I'm like looking for that happy balance.
Right, but now you need to also then like slave to what, right?
He's saying slave to any person.
Right, but maybe this was back in the day when he wrote this, right? When like slavery was actually a normal thing over there. And so that might be from that standpoint, but now like we need to look at it more of like these other masters that we have, over us.
Like what?
Our beliefs, how things should be, and all of those things,
Yeah, so
how we need
not
to
to
fit
be
in.
a slave to the belief of that something should be different than the way that it is.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because I'm just saying, like, we might kid ourselves saying, "Oh, well, we're not slaves to anything," but like I feel like if I go dig down into myself, I definitely will find many things. I'm kind of under a spell of, if you will, So I need to like pull myself out of those,
And when I read slave to any person, like the way it's connecting for me is like I might have a reaction to what somebody else does.
Yes.
And at first glance, like the first thing that comes into my head is sort of like a blame. This person's making me feel this way. This person's behaving inappropriately, or there's like a judgment or a name calling or something like that. And that would be me being a slave to that person because I'm giving them the power to say, hey, you created this feeling inside of me, instead of me taking responsibility for it and saying, no, all of this is generated within me. There may be a trigger externally that like we can have a conversation about, but this is for me to own.
That's a good one.
You got something more in there? You want to read Ryan?
No, not really. That's good. I like how you kind of saw that connection there, because I think that's probably the closest one to what they meant.
Sure, and I mean slave to any person or any belief or anything like that. Yeah. It's probably all wrapped in there.
It's all wrapped in there.
And it's just a matter of like how perceptive am I to when I am doing it. Because it's easy to be like theoretically aware of something, like, oh, I get the concept of this, but it's another story entirely to recognize when I'm doing the thing that the theory is saying, don't do that.
Right. That's my thing, is like that's what I was kind of saying, that like when I actually go like look in there, like there's a lot of stuff that comes out that I probably find that I'm enslaved with or something, but then but if you just ask me right now, I'd be like, oh dude, I'm free as a bird. Right? But like that's what I'm thinking. There's all of these other things that I'm actually like strongly connected to, or something that I want to notice and break those, right? But I'm currently maybe not noticing them. So it's like the way to notice it is to go look in there or something,
Yeah.
And question them. Yeah.
Because I feel like the person who says I'm free as a bird, and that's very quick, that's almost always a cover up for I'm not free as a bird. There's all this stuff that I'm dealing with underneath here, but sure. I want to stay at the surface level.
Like a quick answer just to
move on and to like get to the next place. But it's like not true. And this is like, I hear people say this a lot where they're like, I was depressed and I didn't know I was depressed. And I was like, when I used to hear this, I would think to myself like, what? You wouldn't know that you're depressed? And then like the more I'm in it, the more I'm like, wait, there's times in my life where I'm depressed and I wouldn't call it that in the moment that I'm in it. Right. But to everybody else, it's very clear that I'm depressed. And so it's like, wow, like I am not as aware of myself as I think I am. It's easy to be like, I'm so aware of myself and I'm free as a bird. I'm saying this because I'm self-aware. It's so easy to say that, and then to fool other people, and then other people maybe think like, oh, this person's free as a bird. And so now there's this disconnect, like how can I actually like become intimate with this person when I'm like, I'm never actually letting them in behind that initial thing, because I have to keep it up of I'm free as a bird, I'm free as a bird, I'm free as a bird.
Well, yeah, and that's probably something to do with trust, right? Like you don't have the trust in the people who are asking you, hey, how you doing? Oh, I'm free as a bird, I'm great.
I think you don't have the trust in yourself. I don't think it's with the people, because it's like it's an issue of like I'm not even having that conversation with myself.
Right.
So I don't trust myself to have it, and then that lack of self-trust seems like I'm not trusting other people maybe. But really, if I fix the self-trust, I would fix the trusting with the other people too. In a lot of cases.
Yeah, in a lot of cases, for sure. Okay, yeah. Yeah, that's good. We can do Ryan.
Okay, so Ryan says, stop by a comedy club any weekend night in New York or Los Angeles, and you're likely to find some of the world's biggest and most commercially successful comedians in there, workshopping their craft for just a handful of people. Though they make a fortune in movies or on the road, there they are, practicing the most basic form of their art. If you ask any of them, why are you doing this? Why do you still perform? The answer is usually, because I'm good at it, because I love it, because I want to get better, because I thrive on connecting with an audience, because I just can't not do it. It's not work for them to get up on stage at Caroline's or the Comedy Cellar at 1 a.m. It's invigorating. They don't have to do it. They're free, and they choose this. Whatever humble art you practice, are you sure you're making time for it? Are you loving what you do enough to make the time? Can you trust that if you put in the effort, the rest will take care of itself? Because it will. Love the craft. Be a craftsman.
I don't know if that's true. Unless he is referring to being craftsman of the thing that you really love, but then also, run your business around it,
You mean like it's not just about being a musician, it's also about learning the business of music?
Yeah, because ultimately he's saying like, oh, just become a craftsman at your craft, right? And then the rest of it will take care of itself.
I guess it depends on what you define your craft as being. Because you could...
you can say, well, your craft of being is to run a business, and the craft of you is to become a president, and I don't know, an astronaut, right? Like, ultimately, whatever is in your way to, but see, get what you want, that's all like weird now, with the like goals and all that stuff, like what do you want, like how is it aligned with that? Yeah, the thing that was standing up was the end of like, well, I'm like that's not fitting, because what is your craft, right?
Yeah, but it depends on what you define your craft as.
Sure. So but I would say most people would define craft as that one thing that they really love doing. Let's say a comedian, said, as he's mentioning those comedians in those clubs, oh, they're doing that for free, just to do it. So they're refining their craft. Yes, they're working on their craft, but if you only work on your craft, that doesn't mean that everything else will take care of itself. Like, there are plenty of people who are going into these clubs and working on their things, on their craft, and things are not being taken care of themselves, right? Like they have to figure out how to learn how to do marketing, or who to talk to, networking, like there's all this other stuff. Now someone might say, well, that's your craft. It's all of your craft. Well, okay, then being alive is my craft, I guess, You know what I mean? So it's kind of like, well, which is it? Is it this one thing that you said, or is it then everything that we experience, right? Because it can't be just like, oh no, it's also marketing and business and communication, and that's it. That's your craft. Like, no, then it's really everything, right?
I think it also depends on like what the vision of the outcome is, because like what I'm kind of hearing and what you're talking about is like, or maybe it's not that, maybe it's a combination of this conversation and other conversations that we've had. It's like you had a vision for an outcome that wasn't happening, and then felt so discouraged by that then you sort of like, you changed how you participated with the craft because there was this really painful element with like the attachment to some outcome that wasn't happening.
Yeah. And since then, I actually am a lot more in my craft than I was before when I had the outcome mindset. Actually, that decision actually helped me. You know what I mean? You might look at it like
it's interesting because he's talking about like, okay, let's take the comedian example, because he's talking about these guys, they go to the club to work through these things, like that's their craft, right? Then he also says, though they make a fortune in movies or on the road, ... And so he's basically alluding to this whole other side of their lives, which is, yes, they have this craft of comedy that they're going to the clubs every night for these small rooms in the middle of the night. It seems crazy that anyone would do this, but there they are, they're doing this for the craft. But then they have to somehow monetize this craft in order for it to be the biggest part of their life that it can be. And that's where movies, tours, and all of this stuff comes in. So there clearly is something else around the craft that then needs to happen in order for the craft to like mobilize. Like there needs to be space in someone's life for that craft to become bigger, like take up the space that it's...
Take up the space of if you want to do something with that craft. Because that's what I'm saying. If you're just enjoying, if you're an accountant and you're enjoying to go to a stand-up clubs and doing your material, and people love it and they give you great feedback, but you never want to really become a stand-up comedian because you like actually enjoy your company or something, right? Like so then like,
or maybe you even would like that, but you're okay with...
But you're okay with
this. You've figured out a way to make money, because we all need to figure out a way to make money.
Right.
And on top of that, there's this craft. And
some comedians have the craft and they use that craft to make money, and some comedians have the craft and they use it to not make money. They just use it as a...
Because it's their craft.
Because it's their craft and they want to practice it and they're doing it and they love it, and then they go someplace else to make their money and they're fine with it. Yeah. So it's just really like about like, so is it about the craft or is it about how are you making money? Right.
Well, I think this is about the craft.
This is about the craft.
Because it's like, hey, you are here to experience life. Right. And so that is not the money. Like the money is just a tool to like, to move forward. Yes. But the experience is like, how am I spending my time here? Like, what am I engaging with? What am I interacting with here? And so that seems to be holding a lot more weight than how do I get the money?
Right. And so what he's saying is do your craft and the rest will take care of itself.
But the rest will take care of itself doesn't mean you're going to become rich and famous from your craft. It just means life will help you create the space in your life to have this craft be a part of it.
And so you sound like you're disagreeing with something that I'm saying, but I'm saying
what you're
saying.
I'm assuming that you're saying something else.
But I am saying what you're saying.
Got it. Yeah. I'm assuming that you're saying that like the rest will take care of itself is like, oh, well, then we would all be rich and famous from our crafts.
I'm not saying that. I'm just saying rest of your life will take care of itself. So if you are the one who only loves to do the craft because of the craft and you don't need to make money from it, then life will take care of you in some way. You're going to have something else to make money from, right? And if you're one of those people who say, no, this is all I can know how to do and I don't know how to do anything better and this I'm just gonna keep doing it, maybe something happens there and now you're making money from that, right? So it's like life will somehow figure out how to like take care of every one of us, right? Like,
so then it sounds like you are in agreement with what he's saying. Like it doesn't sound like you have a disagreement with what he's saying.
I don't have disagreement with how we explained it, what he's saying. But if a normal person would read this, or not normal person, but just, I can imagine somebody reading it and say like, oh, well, then I just need to do this and the rest of it will just happen somehow, right? And yes, it will happen, but why not having a control over that too, right? Or have some sort of a input into that whole thing. It's not happening to me. I am going through it somehow or something. It's not this, it's happening to me type of a thing. You know,
Well,
like
and
a hopeless type of a thing, you know?
okay. Because, like, that's where I'm reading in this, like, the rest will take care of itself, aka I will just get everything I want, I'll be rich and famous for my craft, all of this kind of stuff. Like, that's how I'm reading that.
That's how it can be understood. Yes, I can see how many people can understand it that way. Yeah.
So that's what you're talking about.
Yeah, so I'm raising it up saying, well, hold on, that's not what it is, right? Because there's all of these layers in there.
So you're not taking an issue with what he's talking about. You're taking an issue with like a potential way that it could be easily understood
based on the stereotypes of how
the
it's
rest will
actually
take care
kind
of
of written.
Yeah.
Right? It's like, yeah, the rest will take care. Like,
because he puts in the example of the comedians who are making movies and they're going on tour.
Making money and they're
so
all
like
rich
look
and
at how
famous.
simple it is.
Yeah.
Like just focus on your craft, the rest will take care of itself. It does seem to imply that like this is now going to be like a cash cow for you in your life,
right.
And that is not a guarantee. What's a guarantee is that I will have more of my craft in my life.
Yeah.
Because I create the space for it and I prioritize it.
I do it every day and then I actually, why do I do it every day? Well, not to do something else with it. No, for that, because I love doing that, right? And so that's like, oh, it's on my life. Oh, how fun. Like, that's the reason. Yeah, I love that. And then life will take care of itself some other ways, financially, and you know, all this other stuff that life is providing. They're just different ways, you know. It's not this one way that we're thinking or hoping that how it could, should, would happen, you know, in other circumstances. Yeah. Now I like to be involved in those other things. That's what I'm saying. Like, it's important to.
What other things?
I am saying it's not just the craft, it's also to be involved in those other things.
Oh, like the marketing, the business.
If you want your craft
I just
to
didn't,
be the
my
thing.
baby, I just didn't know what you were referring to.
Okay, that part.
Yeah, okay, I'm with you.
So if you, okay, that. So if you know, then you know. Yeah.
So you're saying that you personally are interested in being involved in the other aspects of the craft, which is like, let me try to monetize this. It is totally different.
It's not. But I'm not interested in it in the way that I'm like that's all I'm gonna do. That's all I have to do. I'm not gonna do anything else. I'm going head first into this, and nothing else matters. Like, no. Other things matter. Like I like my job. I also enjoy my job and stuff. So it's like there's many facets to it all, or aspects to it all.
Right.
And so I do want to work on some of those business things to make this craft not only being just for my happiness, satisfaction, but also maybe to share it with somebody and just maybe get something that way from it or something, you know. Like that would be maybe satisfaction. Like I'm not even looking for money, right? I'm just like, looking forward to, let me maybe spread this out just to see if people like it, and maybe it lightens up their day. And if it doesn't, then they don't have to listen to it. And if it does, awesome, right? Don't give me anything, you know what I mean? Like I just want more of like the connection of like, oh, hey dude, like this was really cool. And I love listening to it when I'm working out or something. Like, oh, cool, like I created something that moves somebody. Like, oh, that's amazing. Like, oh.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah. And for that, you need marketing, some sort of marketing, right? Involvement. So if I want that out of it, then I need to also now go to do some marketing and figure out how to spread this out into the world, you know, in some way.
Yeah. Generally, I found those to be like much stickier goals than like a goal of like, I want like a numeric goal or something like that. Like, I want to make $5,000 a month with this or something. Like that goal doesn't stick very much in my system. But like when I think about who I want to help or how I want to like make a difference for somebody in their life, that has like a stickier feel to it. It's like more motivational. It's like, okay, cool. I want to go do this because it feels like it's making a real difference in the world, versus if my goal is just to make money for myself, it feels like it doesn't feel anchored in anything real.
Yeah, I mean, making money is that's not a that's like that's like that's like saying like my goal is to eat as much ice cream as I can. Like that doesn't make any sense, right? Like money is a side effect of what you love doing, right? And if you're in business and if you're good at it and you've done all those marketing, all those things, now you're getting some result of money. But money is not that may be like, oh, I like the lifestyle and now that drives you to keep doing it, but I don't think money drives you to. I think that if we think that money is supposed to be some sort of a driving force, I think that's why we can't actually get anything, because we're like chasing some result instead of being interested in how we're connecting into all of this and how are we actually useful to the system. Yeah. It's like a different game, right? Like chasing money is a different game than chasing my usefulness and my kind of like interests. You know, interest plus usefulness or something. Yeah. Anything else you got? Okay.
All right, that was July 10th. Love the humble art. Excited for tomorrow.